But as I said earlier, at the macro level, what should we be advising ministers of finance, ministers of economy, ministers of development cooperation in terms of macro fiscal policies and the like? How to link that to the message that we're hearing from the private sector about what they need to be able to feel more confident that the risks that they're taking are going to be rewarded as they move forward, and there's an appropriate enabling environment for that. Applied research on climate change will be part and parcel of where we're going. Much more on the economics of adaptation, where frankly, as a community, I think we're all far behind. So to the private sector, I guess to me, the message is the task is very large. On the mitigation side, we know a lot of the technologies. We just need to be able to tap the private sector by bringing a bundle of concessional finance, your own financing mechanisms to play. We would like to be positioned well with you on that. And then collectively, we need to also be thinking about how do we increase the flow of funds to adaptation, which has been left behind, I think, on the more creative side of the solutions. Now's the time to start putting our heads together on that. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Kathy. Gail, I'll turn to you. You have operations throughout Asia, and obviously in a sector that's growing rapidly. Would like to hear your remarks at this stage. You speak from here?
Thank you. I'm going to address a question that I think a lot of you are interested in, and that is how to influence the decision on whether or not to build yet another conventional coal-fired power plant in China. My company, CLP, is an electricity company. We are doing business in Hong Kong, where we have 5 people from Hong Kong sitting here in this room, also in China, India, Australia, Thailand, and Taiwan. Our company is a company that has to make that decision whether to invest, what kind of power plant to invest in. And 3 days ago, we announced a new target for dramatic reduction in the emissions intensity of our entire portfolio, essentially to substantially decarbonize our portfolio by 2050 with intermediate targets for the intervening years. We are acutely aware that the policies and measures and frameworks necessary for us to meet that target are not in place today. I'm here asking for your help. Let me tell you what an investment opportunity looks like in our part of the world. Typically, the need for a power plant has already been determined by the government or by another agency. The size of the power plants in terms of megawatts is already specified. Often the fuel has already been chosen, and the location has been chosen. So by the time an investor sees it, a lot of decisions may have already been made. So let's take a look at what the choices might be for a company like mine. The first choice is the obvious choice. Try to limit the growth in power consumption in the developing countries. That's the first and most cost-effective route that anyone can take. And at the same time, we know that even with aggressive pursuit of energy conservation and efficiency, there is going to be growth in energy consumption in developing countries so that we can enjoy the quality of life there that is enjoyed elsewhere in the world. So what are the other choices to meet the growth? Well, let's start with renewable energy. A great choice since it has no carbon emissions. It's something my company is already investing in. But we do have to think about whether the renewable energy can meet base load, which means it has to run basically all of the time at a specific level. In this case, large hydropower might be a solution. You might be interested to know that it takes longer to build a large hydro facility than to build a coal plant. So one of the factors influencing the decision is how fast you can get that plant on the ground up and running. Another choice, nuclear power. We're also investing in nuclear power in China. Our experience there has been good. At the same time, the nuclear plan is part of the national plan. It doesn't depend so much on the decision of an individual investor. We rely on the government for the management of the waste and for all the policies to address how the radioactive materials are going to be handled. So how about another choice, carbon capture and sequestration? You've heard about that earlier. Not commercially viable today, and when it will be, it's going to be expensive. How about another choice, natural gas? Also expensive, also hard to get in China, hard to get for power generation in India. If you're talking about a specific location, there may not be any gas. So maybe LNG, then we have to be close to the coast to get liquefied natural gas. So maybe the most practical choice is to try and build a more efficient coal plant, maybe supercritical or better than that, to improve its performance. But that's just a small improvement compared to the other choices. What else can we do? We can choose to walk away from that opportunity. My company, CLP, is going to selectively pursue the choices I've just described to you so that our portfolio will essentially transform itself from what it is today with a significant quantity of coal-fired power generation to a much lower emission intensity portfolio. But the question remains how to influence the others who are deciding whether or not to build another coal-fired plant. I'm one of 10 electricity companies in the World Business Council for Sustainable Development who have together prepared a report, Powering a Sustainable Future, Policies and Measures to Make It Happen. In this report, we have set out a very comprehensive set of policies and measures which are directly tied to the type of technology solution and to its level of development in terms of things that are commercially viable, things that are still in R&D or demonstration. Policies that can make a difference. The first one, cost of carbon. Introducing a cost of carbon, whether through CDM or other mechanisms, is something that can help those technologies that are commercially viable, that are close to competitive. And of course, the best will be a cost of carbon that is stable and predictable over the long term, because we're talking about a decision to build a power plant that may take 5 years before you get the plant running. On the other end of the spectrum, you've heard carbon capture and sequestration. I believe there is an urgent need for large-scale government support for major demonstration projects. Major, I mean 1 million tons of CO2 per year sequestered on that order. Final takeaway message, one size of policy does not fit all. It does not fit all technologies. It does not fit all countries. In the case of China, for example, for wind power, CDM has been helpful in making those projects commercially viable. At the same time, those projects would not be viable if we didn't also have a special tariff from the buyer, which is above the conventional power price, so that the CDM in combination with the national policy is what allows those projects to go forward. Thanks.
Thank you very much, Gail. Can I now move from power to an Indonesian company that has been very active, a newest member of the Business Council, and that is very much engaged in forestry. There's been a lot of discussion of forestry before, but I hope that you'll address more than just the forestry aspect.
Well, thanks. Ladies and gentlemen, good afternoon. As the lone panelist from Indonesia, let me talk to you about the relevance of the topic in Indonesian context. Let me start with our challenges. Indonesia absolutely needs best practices, principles, standards, technological know-how to enhance development and mitigate climate change. As a developing economy, we need and have the right to pursue our growth goals while we contribute to the solution of the global warming challenge. The unmanaged tropical forests are a liability